Usually when we sit down to talk about a market crash, we're pulling up charts on interest rates, maybe dissecting some geopolitical crisis.
Right. It's always dry macro stuff. Feels kind of distant.
Exactly. It's inflation data, bond yields,
Yeah.
What the Fed decided to do on a Wednesday. But what happened this week, specifically on Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026, was completely different.
Completely.
We saw nearly $285 billion in market value just wiped out.
Yeah.
Gone. Across the software and financial sectors basically overnight.
And then NASDAQ took a huge nosedive, down 350 points in a single day.
And the trigger wasn't the Fed? It wasn't a bank failure?
No, it wasn't a policy change. It wasn't a war. It was a product demo.
A product demo. I mean, one single tool dropped, and Wall Street just absolutely panicked. We're talking about Claude Cowork, the latest release from Anthropic.
And the term being thrown around, which is both catchy and slightly terrifying, is the Syspocalypse.
The Syspocalypse. I love it. It perfectly captures the mood.
Well, it does, because the premise that Wall Street, and frankly the whole tech industry, has been running on is that AI helps software companies.
Oh, yeah. You know the drill. Salesforce gets an AI bot. Adobe gets an AI assistant.
And they all charge you an extra $30 a month for it.
Right. It's an upsell. It's a feature. It's Microsoft Word, but with a brain.
Exactly. But with Claude Cowork, the narrative just shifted. I mean, overnight, the story is no longer AI helps these companies.
The story is AI replaces these companies.
That's it.
So today on the deep dive, we're going to do a lot more than just look at stock tickers.
Yeah.
We are going to unpack what this tool actually is, because the sources make it very clear this isn't just another chatbot.
Not at all.
We're going to look at the absolutely insane story of how it was built.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, it involves AI building itself, and we're going to talk about what this means for your job.
Whether you're a freelancer, a creative, or, working at a huge corporation.
I think the best place to start is with the core shift in the technology here. Because if you've used ChatGPT or Gemini or even the old Claude, you know the process. It's passive.
Passive in what sense?
Well, it waits for you. You go to a browser tab, you type a prompt, you wait for text.
And then, and this is the real friction point, you have to copy-paste that text somewhere else to actually use it. It's totally separate from your work.
Right. It's like having a really smart consultant who's trapped in a glass box. They can shout advice at you, but they can't actually type the email or fix the spreadsheet on your computer.
Precisely. They have no hands. Claude Cowork breaks the glass. It is what we call an agentic tool.
Agentic.
It doesn't just generate text. It takes over your computer, your actual desktop and your browser to handle repetitive tasks 24/7. It's less like a chatbot and more like a personal employee that sits at your desk and shares your mouse.
Okay, let's get into the specifics, because the demos from beta testers are honestly kind of mind-blowing. The first one that jumped out at me, mostly because I desperately need it, was the desktop organization.
Ah, yes, the magic demo. This was the moment people realized this wasn't just a language model anymore.
So just picture your computer desktop right now. If you're like me, it is a complete disaster zone. I've got screenshots labeled Screenshot 1, random PDFs, Final Project V3 Reel.
It's digital chaos. We all have it. It's the junk drawer of the digital age.
It is. So in one test case we looked at, a user pointed Claude Cowork at a desktop with over 300 random files.
Yeah.
He just typed, organize my desktop.
And he didn't have to do anything else. No dragging, no dropping, no setting up complex rules.
Yeah.
He just watched.
And this is where that agent part comes in, right? The AI didn't just look at file extensions. It wasn't just putting JPEGs in a JPEG folder.
No, it scanned the content of every single file. It opened the PDFs. It read the screenshots. So it knew that a screenshot of a receipt, that belongs in a finance folder. A logo draft goes in client projects.
And it created the whole subfolder structure and moved everything itself.
All of it.
In less than 2 minutes. 300 files. That is the kind of task I would put off for 6 months. I'd basically wait until I bought a new computer just to avoid cleaning the old one.
And that's the hook. It starts with the tedious stuff to gain your trust, but it's not just about moving icons around. It's about browser control.
Oh, the 11 Labs example. This was fascinating because it shows how the AI interacts with other websites.
Yeah.
It's not just playing in its own little sandbox.
Correct. So usually if you want to generate a voiceover, it's so click-heavy. You go to the site, you paste text, pick a voice, hit generate, wait for it, download the file, rename it.
It's classic grunt work. Not hard, but so annoying.
With Cowork, you teach it the workflow just once. You basically say, hey, watch me do this. Take this text, generate it in these 2 voices, and save them to this folder. And then Claude takes over.
It takes the cursor,
It takes the cursor, it clicks the buttons, it navigates the site, it handles the downloads, it learns the interface just by, looking at the pixels on the screen.
Yeah. That's the part that feels like magic. Or maybe a little spooky.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting for me. It's not just doing one thing at a time. The sources kept mentioning multitask parallel processing.
And this is a massive differentiator. Most humans, and even most automation scripts, are linear. You do task A, then you do task B. You can't really write an email and edit a video at the exact same second.
I try, but I usually end up sending the email to the video editor and the video to my boss.
Exactly. But Claude Cowork uses cloud compute. It can organize those files on your desktop while it's logging into Canva to generate a presentation, while it's also managing a spreadsheet calculation in the background. It just spins up instances for each task.
So it feels less like one assistant and more like you just hired a team of 5 people who all share your login.
Precisely. And that scalability is what scares the legacy software companies. Because if one license of Claude can do the work of 3 junior analysts using 3 different apps, the whole economics of the workplace just changes instantly.
Well, speaking of junior analysts, it's creeping into creative and analytical work, too. This is where we start to see why stocks like Salesforce and Adobe are taking a beating. Let's talk about the presentation feature.
Yes. This felt like a direct shot at Microsoft PowerPoint.
It is. It's a threat to the millions of hours people spend fighting with formatting in PowerPoint or Google Slides.
The capability here is you can give Claude your brand assets, your logos, your color codes, your font files, and just say, make a 6-slide deck about our new branding strategy.
And to be clear, because I've seen AI make slides before and they usually look terrible, this isn't just spitting out a bulleted list.
No, it builds the actual visual artifact. Fully editable, brand-compliant slides. It places the images, it aligns the text boxes, it applies the colors. We saw an example of a branding strategy deck. And, if you're a marketing manager, that's a task that used to take a whole morning.
And now it takes minutes.
And more importantly, you don't need to be a PowerPoint wizard to do it.
That brand-compliant part is huge.
It is. And then there's the data side. I think this is what really scared investors in companies like Tableau, because data analysis is their whole moat. They charge huge subscription fees for these tools.
And the tools are so hard to learn.
They are. The source we looked at detailed a workflow with Shopify. Usually, if you want to analyze 3 months of sales, you have to export a CSV, open Excel, clean the data.
I'm getting a headache just thinking about pivot tables. I never know where to drag the fields.
Nobody knows where to drag the fields.
Okay.
With Cowork, the prompt is just pull my sales data from Shopify for the last 3 months, analyze the trends, and build a visual dashboard.
He does it.
It connects to the platform, pulls the data, runs the analysis, and generates the visuals. It replaces the entire tool chain.
Replaces a tool chain. I want to pause on that phrase. That feels heavy. It's not using the tools faster, it's bypassing the need for you to ever touch them.
That's it exactly. If the AI can interface with the data and give you the output, why do you need to learn the interface of the software in the middle? Why pay for Tableau?
It's also doing video editing. I saw a mention of taking a 1-hour podcast and automatically cutting it into short clips for TikTok, resizing, and captioning them.
Again, a direct threat to the Adobe suite. If the AI can identify the engaging moments and do the technical editing, the barrier to entry for content creation just drops to near zero.
And for the real power users, there was something called custom MCP server connections. That sounds super technical. Can you break that down?
Sure. Think of it as the ultimate API connector. MCP is just a standard way for the AI to plug into other apps. So if you use a tool like Asana for project management, you can set up a custom connection.
So you could just
say, create a project called Website Redesign and assign these 3 tasks to the team with deadlines for next Friday. And it logs into Asana's infrastructure and does it.
So it's not just clicking on screens, it's actually talking to their databases.
Right. It becomes the orchestration layer. It's like the nervous system for the whole company.
Okay, so we have a tool that works 24/7, multitasks, builds presentations, analyzes data. But honestly, the most insane part of this whole story isn't even what the tool does.
No.
It's how it was made.
This is the part that kind of breaks your brain a little bit.
The sources say Claude Cowork was built in just 10 days by a team of 4 people.
4 people. And here's the kicker. Those 4 people were mostly just supervisors. The actual coding, the heavy lifting, was done 100% autonomously by Anthropic's previous model, Claude Code.
So an AI built the AI.
We are entering the era of recursive self-improvement. Anthropic launched Claude Code back in May 2025 as, a tool for hardcore coders. But they noticed something weird in the usage data. Users were bending it to do non-coding things.
Bending it how?
Like hooking it up to home automation to turn on smart ovens, or monitoring soil sensors for their plants. People were treating this coding agent like a general-purpose butler.
So Anthropic sees this and just goes, okay, let's lean into that.
Exactly. They realized there was this massive demand for what they started calling vibe coding.
Vibe coding. I love that term. What does that actually mean?
It means coding with plain English, focused on intent rather than syntax. You don't write Python. You don't worry about semicolons. You just describe the vibe or the outcome you want. I want a tool that fixes these photos, and the AI writes the software to make it happen.
And the contrast here is just staggering. You have Microsoft with 220,000 employees and a 3-year head start on their Copilot stuff.
Right.
And then you have Anthropic with this tiny team building a superior product in 10 days using their own AI.
It just exposes the bloat in traditional tech. If a small team with AI can outbuild a giant, the economics of the entire software industry are fundamentally broken. It suggests software development is no longer a moat.
Which brings us right back to the SaaSpocalypse.
The market fallout.
The $285 billion wipeout. Let's look at who got hit the hardest, because it wasn't random. LegalZoom down 20%, Thomson Reuters down 15%. Why legal?
Because so much legal work is highly textual and rules-based, reviewing contracts, NDA triage. These are expensive tasks billed by the hour, but they're essentially high-stakes, find-and-replace tasks.
So if you're LegalZoom and your whole value prop is easy, cheap legal docs, and now an AI on everyone's desktop can do it for free.
It's an existential problem. Why pay a subscription when the agent does it better? And why pay a junior lawyer $200 an hour to review an NDA when the AI does it in 4 seconds?
And it wasn't just legal. The CNBC source mentioned the Indian IT sector companies like Infosys and Wipro.
It's the same level of threat. Think about their business model. You pay them to hire a team of humans to handle journal entries or data reconciliation or basic tech support.
Right, it's labor arbitrage. It works because labor is cheaper overseas.
Exactly. But now if a finance plugin for Claude can do those journal entries locally, securely, and instantly on your own servers, the cost of the AI is lower than even the cheapest outsourced labor.
So we're moving from offshoring to AI shoring.
AI shoring. You bring the work back in-house, but you don't give it to a human, you give it to a machine. And the specialized plugins are covering everything. Bioresearch, finance, data, everything feels like it's up for grabs.
It raises such an important question about value. I think the Jefferies analyst put it perfectly. This year is the defining year, whether companies are AI winners or victims.
The market is finally realizing that AI isn't a feature you add to your software.
AI is the software that replaces you.
But I think we need to ground this. We've talked about billions of dollars and giant corporations, but what does this look like for a regular person?
Totally. There was this great anecdote in the source material about a guy and his wedding photos. I think this really illustrates vibe coding in the real world.
Oh, this is a perfect example. So this user had a bunch of corrupted wedding photos. The files wouldn't open. Just broken data.
That's an absolute nightmare. You can't reshoot a wedding.
And the photography company said, here's our official software to fix it. But the software was Windows only, and the guy was on a Mac.
Ah, the classic compatibility wall.
Usually you're just stuck. You have to find a friend with a PC or something. But this guy fires up Claude. He points it at the corrupted files and basically says, write me a custom app to fix these files based on how the official software works. It wrote the code, executed it, and recovered the photos. In 2 minutes.
2 minutes. To build a custom software repair tool from scratch?
That is the power of zero-barrier creation. He didn't need to know C++ or file architecture. He just needed to know what he wanted. He essentially willed the software into existence.
That's incredible. But it also brings up the scary part. If we can solve problems that fast, what happens to the work? The sources mentioned that knowledge workers spend 28% of their week on email and 20% just searching for information.
That's nearly half the work week, and Claude Core Work automates almost all of it. It filters the email, finds the files, summarizes the info.
So if an AI can do a week's worth of work in 2 hours, which one user actually experienced? What happens to the 9 to 5?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? We are facing a productivity shock. If you can do 40 hours of work in 4 hours, do you work less? Does the weekend get longer?
Or do companies just expect 10 times the output?
Yeah.
Or hire 10 times fewer people?
That's the fear driving the market. But there's another perspective. Think about the wedding photo guy again. He became a software engineer for 2 minutes because he needed to be. If everyone has that power, we might see this explosion of creativity and problem solving because the technical barrier is gone.
It's like that recursive model you mentioned. The tools are smart enough to build the tools we need.
Exactly. The skill is shifting from execution to direction.
But before we get to utopian, the safety thing, giving an AI control of my mouse and keyboard sounds like the start of a sci-fi horror movie.
Right. I'm sorry, Dave, I can't let you close that tab.
Exactly.
Well, Anthropic is very aware of that. They built Cowork to run in a sandbox virtual environment. It's siloed. It can't just jump from your browser to your operating system files without permission.
And it uses a loop, right? A plan, execute, update loop.
Yes. It shows you the plan first. It doesn't just start clicking wildly. For major actions like deleting files, it pauses and asks.
So it'll say, I'm about to delete these 15 folders. Is that okay?
Precisely. That human-in-the-loop confirmation is critical for trust right now.
So let's just look at the bottom line. We have a personal AI employee that costs, what, $200 a month for the max plan?
Around that, yeah.
But it replaces thousands of dollars of software subscriptions. Adobe, Tableau, LegalZoom, and potentially days of human labor.
It's an incredibly compelling value proposition, and that's why the market reacted so violently. This isn't vaporware. It's here, and it's disrupting the status quo immediately.
It really feels like we are living through a historical pivot point. I mean, the speed is relentless.
It is. And remember, this was built by a tiny team. We might see the rise of the one-person unicorn, a billion-dollar company run by one human and a fleet of AI agents.
It is both a thrilling and a terrifying thought.
It's the reality we're moving toward. This apocalypse is just the first tremor. The real earthquake is the restructuring of knowledge work itself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we're left with this synthesis. On one hand, incredible personal productivity. You can be a designer, a data analyst, and a coder all at once. On the other,
massive economic disruption. It's the classic double-edged sword of automation, just sharpened to a razor edge.
I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. We talked about vibe coding. The idea that just asking for what you want is the new programming. If the barrier to building anything drops to zero, what becomes the new valuable skill?
It's no longer about knowing how to do the work. It's about knowing what work is worth doing. Judgment, taste, curation. Those might be the only things left that are uniquely human.
Judgment and taste. I like that. I'd love to hear from you listening right now. Well, what part of your job would you hand over to Claude first? The emails, the spreadsheets?
Oh, the emails. In a heartbeat.
Same here. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll be watching this space closely, probably with our own AI agents taking notes for us. See you next time.